Welcome to another edition of the Insider Mailbag. I'm Jared Johnson. I'm joined by the Mighty Joe Yeager. Mighty Joe, man, how you doing today?
Yeah, pretty good, Jared. How you doing?
I'm good. I'm enjoying this weather. It's rained for a couple of days, and it's hot for a couple of days. It rains for a couple of days. I can get used to this. But anyways, we have a lot of really good questions to get to, so we're going to jump right into it. This one comes from Anonymous, who wants to know, does Wells land a top 25 recruiting class in the next 3 years? I'm going to jump out there and say no.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, there's nothing to indicate that kind of a jump from where they are right now. I think for that to happen, you'd have to have a monster season within these next couple of years. And again, I don't see that happening either.
No, I think the goal should be top 60 for this current class, 2020, top 50 for 2021, and then top 40. I think top 40 for 2022, and then you got to develop your guys, retain and develop your guys, win some games like you said, and then you can start really landing some of the bigger name recruits in Texas. All right, Scarlet Black wants to know, how does Texas Tech basketball determine in the early signing period how many scholarships to recruit for and offer before you know who may leave early for the NBA? Is there a forecast Texas Tech look at? I think you got to play it by ear, honestly. That may be less scientific than what you were looking for, but I mean, I think the coaching staff had a pretty good idea that this was going to be Jarrett Culver's last year, like for example. And I think the best way to handle something like this and to go about your business is to see how it unfolds. Now, you can plan for certain things, plan to have certain scholarship offers, and then Beard is going to be aggressive with the roster, like we talked about before. But I think as far as forecasting, I think so, as far as leaving early for the NBA, I think it's usually pretty obvious.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, you can't necessarily go over recruiting just based upon the assumption that this guy might go pro. I mean, if you look at the current roster, I guess the most likely guy would be Ramsey, but he's no surefire thing to do that exactly. So you can't count on that too much. I think one thing that sort of potentially could complicate things on down the road is if people start taking the R.J. Hampton route and saying, well, why am I playing college ball when I could develop for the NBA by going to Australia and getting paid? And so if that starts to become an issue, then man, it becomes even tougher for the coaches. But right now, they don't have to worry about that too much. So I think, your answer is correct.
Another thing to consider though too is, like, guys, since Texas Tech is really going the overseas route, or the out of the country route, as far as Nadolny, obviously Moretti, you go down the list, Savrasov, look, these guys have options to go back to their home countries and play. So, like, don't be surprised if Moretti, after 3 years, depending on what happens, says, hey, I can go back to Italy and play pro ball. He may have his sights set on the NBA though. So there are several factors that go into it. I think Chris Beard has a really good level of respect and open communication. He likes to call it being truth tellers. I think they have a really good line of communication with their players, and they're honest with each other and know where they stand. Panther Cat wants to know, barring injury, what percentage of the time does Bowman start at QB? I would say 100%. If he's healthy. And then who is the leading rusher on the team? You know who my guy is. Who's your guy?
That's a really, really good question there.
Because last year it was Jet Duffy who led your team in rushing.
I hadn't thought about that. So we're assuming that Bowman's going to stay healthy, which means maybe Duffy isn't going to run it all that much. I'm going to go with Roderick Thompson. I think Tajon Henry is a more talented player, but I think Thompson has the body that he can give you more carries. So, and then of course Armand Shine is your guy. But I'm not seeing, it could be anybody. It could be either one of those last two guys. I'll just go ahead and go with Thompson, more time in the system.
I like Thompson a lot. I wish he would have got more carries last year. I understand they wanted to redshirt him, and now I'm glad they did. But he was a guy I wanted to see have more carries. He's a guy you enjoy watch run. He's big. He sees the hole. He has good vision. Tazon, like you mentioned, he had a great true freshman season. I really like Armand Shine. I think he's a legitimate bell cow type of running back. He's proven he can do it at the Power 5 level at Utah, and I think he's coming in hungry. I had a couple conversations with him. He's really excited and expecting to get a lot of carries, get a lot of work this year. So I'll be excited to see how he does behind a veteran offensive line, Mighty Joe. Captain Popsicle wants to know, with the big recruiting weekend coming up, do we think Tech will get any commitments? If so, who should we be expecting to hear a boom from? Well, how many commitments do you think Tech might get from this weekend, Mighty Joe?
Well, let's go with 5. I'll be optimistic.
Whoa.
Say 5.
That's a lot. I'm going to go, I think Kobe Miner's a real chance. Safety out of Lake Dallas. I think Colin Gamble, another DB, is a really good chance. You know, I mean, you can go down the list. I think Willie Eldridge is another guy running back out of the Houston area. I think he likes Texas Tech. He has some other options, but I think they could wow him this weekend and land a big commitment there, because I think there is an opportunity for playing time at running back in the future. So that's what I'm gonna go with. I'm gonna say 3 coming out of just this weekend, which would be a lot. That'd be great. And those are my best bets. All right, Slayton67 wants to know how many scholarships for men's basketball next year. He said his guess would be 5. What do you think?
Yeah, that's a pretty good number. I would probably go with 4. You lose your 2 grad transfers. Yeah. That's 2 for sure. You know, then the pro option. Listen, I'm going to go ahead and say right now, I don't think anybody jumps pro.
Yeah, I don't think so.
I don't think Morrow does. I think Ramsey's probably around for another year,
right?
At least. So I don't see that happening. And then I think you probably have the traditional couple of guys. That decided just it's mutual, it's not working out, and they need to go someplace else. So I'll go ahead and go with 4.
All right, I like that number. I think 4 is right as well, and I agree with you. I don't think anybody's going to go pro. I hope they do. Honestly, I hope Jemias Ramsey has an All-American type year and he goes pro, or even a Terrence Shannon. You know, I mean, look, Tech has had less heralded guys do that. You know, I mean, Zaire Smith.
Yeah, or Joel and Tomboy if he plays.
Right.
You know, he's a guy who he's on the NBA radar screens a little bit right now as it is.
Absolutely. So 4 or 5, those are good numbers. Texas Tech Austin has a baseball question. He says, obviously you would like to be in the winner's bracket in the College World Series, and he knows it's one game at a time. Which, look, we're not participants, so we can look all around without it affecting the game, right? The outcome of the game. But basically what he wants to know is, by knocking out Arkansas, since you lost that first game, is this like the best case scenario since losing that first game? Because you and I both thought going into it that Arkansas was the biggest threat to Texas Tech making the championship series. So they're gone. They're the first team eliminated from Omaha. So basically he wants to know, is that the best case scenario given that you did lose that first game?
Well, I mean, circumstances change. You know, you go in with one way of looking at it, and then as it develops, you're like, whoa, maybe we weren't right after all. You know, and I think the big deal right now is that Michigan is legit. I mean, they really are. I mean, I was kind of I got to admit, I was kind of discounting them a little bit coming out of the Midwest. You know, can they really play? Can they hang? Will they prove they can?
Yeah.
So, you know, I think I like Tech's odds against Florida State to face up again with Michigan, and they have to win 2. That's going to be tough.
Yeah.
It's really, really, really going to be tough for them to win 2 over Michigan the way they're playing right now. But hey, you just keep giving yourself a chance.
Absolutely. Hey, Mighty Joe, great stuff from you as always. Great question from you, and until next time.